silence your phones and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Kelly, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, Cheney,
Here.
Menuda, O'Donnell,
Here.
Sassy,
Here.
Sierra,
Here.
Stiganga,
Here.
Tortel,
Here.
Riskevich.
Here.
Okay, 7 present, 1 absent.
Okay, yeah, if it's all right with everyone, I'll change the agenda up here a little bit. I'm gonna move number 4 up to number 2 because I know Mr. Gatos is with us. He has another commitment to get to, so in the interest of that, him at number 2. So with that, number 1, we have Stephen M. Newhouse, County Executive, confirmation of reappointments to the Foreign Trade Zone Management Board. L. Benton, J. Vero, A. D'Amico, M. Grady, E. Devitt, J. Monroe, P. Conklin, L. Cione, A. Seidman, legislative request number 012. Can I get a motion in second?
So moved, Tortel.
Tortel
Ganga.
and Stenega. Okay, looks like Harry's going to be presenting that.
Yes, I am. Okay, we are reorganizing the Park and Board. All of these members have actually, that we have appointed now and confirmation, have served in the past. Lee Benton would serve through 2021. John Vero, same, and Alicia D'Amico through 2021. Mike Grady would have a term that would expire in 2022. And Ed Devitt, Jim Monroe, Donna Conklin, Alan Seidman would all serve until December 31st, 2023. I should add also that I had a conversation with Lynn Cione earlier today, and she's asked us to remove her name from consideration. So I would strike her name from this list of appointees.
Okay. Yep.
Any questions? Let me know.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. Any other questions? Comments? Okay. Not seeing any hands. All right, well, no questions. I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, next up, we have Stephen Brescia, Chairman of the Legislature, resolution appointing Michael E. Gatos to the Orange County Industrial Development Agency and the Orange County Funding Corporation. 5-year term expires 12/31/2025. Could I get a motion in second?
Ganga.
Senega, is there a second?
Tortel.
Tortel, okay. Go ahead, Steve.
Thank you, Chairman. Usually I don't bring reappointments before the board, but Mike was available today, so I asked him to sit in if he could. Most of you know Mike. He's the business manager for Local 417. First labor appointment to the Orange County IDA in the 35-year plus history of the Orange County IDA. And he stepped right in, and he's served on committees already, and he's really engaged, has a good viewpoint, and open-minded to all viewpoints. And I strongly recommend him for reappointment. Each of you should have his resume. I think he's been a very good member of the IDA. So
Okay,
I ask for your support today for reappointment.
Okay, I see Mr. O'Donnell has his hand up. Go ahead.
You're muted, Jim. You're muted, Jim.
Thank you, Chairman. So with all the issues going on with the IDA, I've had a couple of conversations with Mr. Gatos over the past 2 days. And I just appreciate that he has pledged to provide this legislature with any and all information that we have requested. I'm sure we'll be getting into a conversation later in this meeting about the letter we got from our chairman, Riskevich's request for information, where they went up and hired a law firm again wasting our public funds. But I appreciate Mr. Gatos pledging again to provide this legislature with any and all information that we requested. So I appreciate that. So with that, I will be supporting nomination for reappointment. Thank you, Chairman.
All right, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, well, seeing none, Mr. Gatos, since you're here with us, would you like to say anything?
Well,
Yep.
I know Mike was shaking his head yes, but just put it on the record so everybody knows.
Yeah, Jim, you and I did speak. I did call you. It wasn't even had nothing to do with this, but anyway, just so you all, I know you all personally, and since I've been on the board, you can ask Steve, and Steve included. I'll speak for myself, but I'm here to work with the legislators to enhance any relationships that need to be done. I've heard things in the past. I'm the newest member, but we've had meetings. I have been very vocal on being transparent, and I will, as always in my business here, along with you. Anything you need, everybody has my cell number. If not, I can give it to you or get it from Jim, Steve, whoever. Call me anytime, and I'll give you anything I can. It's not, I have no issues. I'll vote the right way, and the only way should be what's right is right. So I'm here to make relationships, mend them, and go forward. And Steve, I think you can echo that. I'm the strongest advocate. I supported the Heritage Trail. Everybody knows that. So that was controversial. Steve and I supported that. But I'm here to make things work. I'm here to support local labor, not union labor. My hat is local labor. And that's my biggest thing for getting on his board. I want things to go to local contractors. So you can put it on record. And we're talking now, Jimmy and I, and everybody here on the board can call me anytime, and I'll be there to aid you in any way I can.
Well, I'm looking just for a pledge that we're going to get the information we requested.
Jim, I told you I'll give you anything I can. I'm a vote. I don't control the keyboards, but I will voice my opinion, like I told you.
You will vote to submit all the information we requested.
I will support what I can do that's legally in my power to do so. I can't control certain things that are out of a legal realm, but if it's legal and I can do it, or if it's not legal, I'll say, if I agree with it, I'll say, okay, send it anyway. But if I can only control what I can control, Jim. So I don't want you to put words in my mouth, but I told you, I'll give
I'm
you.
not putting words in your mouth, but I just want to.
You know what I'm saying. I'm there for you. You know that.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I see Majority Leader Benelli has a hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to take the time to thank Mr. Gatos for, first of all, being here this afternoon. And obviously, the legislature has some major concerns when it comes to the operations of the IDA. We want to make sure that, we look at everything and that we're working together. And the fact that you have been so forthright in your brief conversation here this afternoon, I really appreciate it. And I thank you very much. And I look forward to you working again with the IDA with your new appointment. Thank you.
Thank you. And like I said, I've known all you for quite some time. You all do a great job. And we need to work together to make things happen. It's whatever the subject might be, call me off record, on record. Things will get done a lot better if we communicate, I think, a little more often. However, that we'll let it happen.
Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, seeing no more questions, I'm gonna go ahead and call the question. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Congratulations, Mike. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Yep, you too.
You too, Mike.
See you later.
Okay, next up, we have Rachel Wilson, Director, Youth Bureau. A, request to accept and appropriate additional New York State Office of Children and Family Services Runaway Homeless Youth funding in the amount of $130 for the year 2020. Total funding $65,344. Legislative request number 6. Could I get a motion in a second, please?
So moved, Tortel.
Sassy and Tautel. Okay. Rachel, go ahead.
Okay, this is just the legislative add-in funding that we have gotten historically. It was approved in the budget for 2020 originally by the state, but because of the COVID pandemic, the state had decided to withhold the legislative add-in, and they did decide in early 2021 to give us the legislative add-in for 2020. So this is really just bringing us up to what we were hoping to get.
Okay, any questions? All right, seeing none, question, all in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, B, request to accept and appropriate New York State Office of Children and Family Services Youth Development Funding, the amount of $36,533 for the year 2020, total funding $374,390. Legislative request number 7. Can I get a motion in a second,
So
please?
move, Stassi.
Second, Stiganga.
Now,
C and Stenenga. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Rachel.
okay, and the same as what I was just explaining with the runaway homeless youth funding. Again, it was in the state budget. It was approved, withheld during 2020 due to the pandemic, and then released and approved in the second week of 2021, still for 2020 funding.
Okay, any questions? All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and everyone else. Have a good afternoon.
You too, thank you. Okay, next up, we have Bill Fioravanti, Director, Economic Development, for his monthly update. You all should have received his written report via email. So, Bill, I'll turn it over to you. Whatever you want to highlight or add. Go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm going to try and continue to take Antoinette Reed's recommendation that I won't go through the whole proposal. I'll just hit a couple of highlights. And of course, I'm always here to take questions, so whatever you're interested in. First of all, just talking about our COVID response obviously continues. The second round of PPP, a Paycheck Protection Program, came out. If already got a loan, they can apply for another one, and they can apply for forgiveness. There's a good chance that they'll get that. Part of the reason I want to just share some of the details is I would like to ask any of you, you're all in contact with business people. You all do a great job of staying in touch with me and so many other department heads. If there's some folks that you need to refer to me in order to give them some clarity on this, please do. A couple of you have already done that, Mr. O'Donnell, for example. So please continue to send them my way. Out of the latest COVID-related congressional resolution is $284 billion has been allocated for PPP2. The deadline on applications is March 31st. They're already out there. Some banks, some community-based banks in tougher areas were given the opportunity to release the loans first. After that, were banks under $1 million. And after that, as of last week, it's available to everyone. Actually, as of Tuesday, it's available through all banks that do participate. Again, if you got a loan the first time, you can get it the second time. If it's your second PPP loan, you have to have 300 employees or less. Most of our folks certainly fall under that. This time, you'll also have to demonstrate a financial hardship. It equates to a 25% drop in gross receipts from one quarter this past year, to 2019. Loan amounts are the same as last time. Essentially 2.5 months of payroll is how they compute it. There are some things that are taken out of it this time. If you have 6-figure employees and such, they're taken out of it. But essentially 2.5 months of payroll is what you can ask for. Repayment period was also one of the questions before. It was kind of tricky for people to spend it within 8 weeks coming. Now you have between 8 and 24 weeks to spend that. And what you spend it on is the same 60-40 rule as before. At least 60% needs to be on rent. And up to 40% can be other applicable costs, utilities, various expenses, including those related to putting plexiglass up and all the accommodations they need to make to keep it safe. Those are all deductible now. So that's in there as well. So a lot of folks, since they've done this, many have done it before, they have lenders. But I talked to many through this last round, the previous round, a number of people got to me that didn't have a relationship with the lender or their bank wasn't participating. If that continues to be the case, if you with that issue, again, please refer them, because I work with every bank that's out there, and I do hear from banks saying, hey, we'll talk to people that are current customers. So again, I mostly went through that so you know some of the basics, but please refer people to me, especially if they need help finding, securing a loan and finding a lender. Second, I just want to touch on social media. I didn't talk too much about that in the report. Certainly, we're using the department's Facebook page, LinkedIn page, Twitter. We're using that to highlight these types of guidelines around COVID, whether it's the PPP loans or how to get PPE. The other thing that I'm hearing a lot from businesses now is how to deal with exposures. Either there's an exposure in their place of business, or they have a staff person that had an exposure on their own outside of that. I had been referring businesses that called me on that to the Department of Health, but I'm getting so many of them now that I met with the Department of Health this week, and I have a handle on that myself, and I'm just sharing that information. So again, exposure is another issue as well. So we're promoting all this through social media. We're promoting also on social media, FTZ, no question, promoting how this office works and you know what we're there, what I'm up to basically. But in addition to that, we're starting to move into the realm of using our digital tools really to attract businesses. We just launched a campaign where we're using different types of digital media to promote not just the opportunities that we have here to create a business, all the resources we have, real estate, you know, again, all success stories, but also we want to promote quality of life. So I'm using some of tourism's content and coming up with some of our own, because I think we all can relate to this. Most people that have come here that aren't here for 3-4 generations came from downstate, in the city area, for some reason, and they came up here because of quality of life. COVID has only expanded that, obviously, and given people greater reason to look upstate. So we're trying to combine some quality of life promotion with, again, all the other things I typically promote, and doing that as part of a social media campaign, actually a multimedia campaign. And one piece of that campaign that I want to also share with you are these video vignettes. I think I touched on it when we put the concept together, but we're having business people record very simple, kind of like selfie videos, talking about their business, why they're here, why they're successful. We're editing those down to either between 30 seconds or a minute, basically. And we're mixing those in with the other types of posts that I'm talking about. So same thing, if you know some business owners that are proud owners here and proud Orange County residents, or at least they run their business here, and you think they'd be willing to help us promote that, and to promote the area, please refer them to me. I'm looking for more. Some people are nervous about it. I'm making it as easy as possible. But I would like to hear from folks that you know would be willing to participate in something like that. I'll do all the work. I'll come film it, whatever it is. But if you have any suggestions, I would take that. So thank you very much. Last thing I'm just going to touch on is FTZ. Continue to push that. It's a big priority for myself, Mr. Moore, of course, who I kind of took the reins from. First of all, thank you for the reappointment to the board. That's important. It really is. And I also want to just remind you that we have a new client that should be coming on. We applied for a new subzone application for JJS Transportation in Nassau County. We applied on November 23rd, and we already have word that we should have approval in the next week. So I've been bragging about it, just with faith that this timeline that they brag about is always true. And first example I have, it's proving to be the case that it's giving government a really darn good name in terms of speed. We hope to have approval. JJS to be our newest client, at least the first since I've been on here. And I have a handful of others that are prospects kind of in the pipeline. And we continue to add to that pipeline by using our regional partners, especially during COVID. It's the best way for us to work. I will single out HVEDC. They've in particular, of the last couple of months, been really helpful in helping to bring prospects to us. I've had 3 Zoom calls already this week with companies that HVEDC brought to us because they understand that this is a regional tool, since we can have clients that are outside of our county borders. So I'm very hopeful about FTZ, something we're continuing to push very heavily. And I think that's mostly what I wanted to highlight. If anyone has any questions on anything I covered or anything else in the report or beyond, I'm here. Thanks very much.
Okay, I'll open it up to questions. I see legislator Tautel has a hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll go with Bill first, and then I wanted to be asking a couple of things on the agenda. That's why I put my hand up in between. Bill, just real quick, thank you very much for your update. I see that we're getting a $10,000 benefit from the FTZ deal with the Valley Stream location.
Yes.
If somebody, is that coming back into us, into our general fund? Is it something that goes through with the FTZ? Could you just explain that a little bit? And then also, if I get a question, how do I explain how we're getting this benefit? Just so I can be a little more knowledgeable on it.
Sure. So I'm sorry, you finished?
I said it can just be super brief. It doesn't have to be a big, long.
Sure, appreciate that. First of all, I manage two budgets, EDZ and FTZ. So when it's budget time, I'm looking at both of those. FTZ obviously is for the foreign trade zone. The revenues are counted in there, so they come back into that budget, help feed that budget. If Mr. Poor wanted to expand beyond that, I certainly ask him to do that, but it's pretty basic. Those funds do come in right now, and they're part of our FTZ budget.
Yeah, that's correct. And we do use it sometimes for advertising. We used to, matter of fact, we used to advertise in this magazine, right? But then it got to be not cost effective. It was like $6-8 grand for a full page ad. It wasn't getting the response we want. But we use it for promotion. We use it to cover parts of salaries. So generally, whatever we can get from FTZ in terms of fees from these different clients, we use to fund the FTZ operation.
Thank you. Ms. Totel, the second part was how did the funds come in? Is that what you asked?
Yeah, somebody asked me once, and I couldn't explain. I asked them to call your office, actually, was how are we benefiting if this isn't creating jobs in Orange County? How are we getting this money? What is it, how does it come to us in that manner?
If you want, Bill, let me add.
Sure, please.
We have a zone, 2,000 acres of development, foreign trade zone development. Of that, about 1,000 or more is identified on the Stewart Airport footprint. That leaves us with about 1,000 acres more that we can use for different parts of the county or for clients outside the county. And many of the clients that we have right now are outside the county. And what is the benefit to us? The benefit is that we charge them $10,000 a year to be a member of our organization. And we continue to do that because it is a feeder of revenue into the operation, and also because we have so much more acreage available to us presently, that if there was ever anything large that came in, we'd be able to accommodate it. Some of our clients include the Gap over in Fishkill. You ever see this large warehouse right along 84? That's one of our clients. We had another client that was up in Woburn, New York, pumps, Xylem pumps.
Expediter,
Expeditors.
Xylem, sorry.
Right, so what is the value? The value is that they pay us $10,000 a year to use our designation to help their operation.
And if I could just further confirm what Mr. Poor said, you all know in 2019, I went to a couple FTZ conferences. I learned a lot from colleagues there. I met with many other grantees, as we're known throughout the country. And as Mr. Poor mentioned, we have 2,000 acres of which to allocate for FTZ clients. I've talked to all these other grantees. They all say they've never heard of anyone using all 2,000 acres. So I agree. I'm with you. I think primarily when you want to use this to bring in essentially manufacturers in county, but I can confirm that bringing in other clients outside the area, it creates a regional tool, regional benefit for partners in the region, but it's also not really taking up any room for which we could use for Orange County clients. If that makes sense.
It does make sense to me. Somebody had said to me, well, it's not bringing us jobs or the revenue to the smaller businesses by granting it to people outside the county. And that's when I asked them to call your office, that you could explain it more in depth.
I understand.
Okay, thank you. And then, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to be added to numbers A. I believe I was a motion on A, 2A, but 2B and also 1.
You want to be added?
And 4, yeah, and 4, please. As
Okay.
responsive. Thank you.
Yep. I can do that. Okay, next up, Legislator Lujan and then O'Donnell. Legislator Lujan, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bill, I'm sorry in advance. I might have missed it or not, but last month, I think it was, you gave us an update on Camp LaGuardia, and I don't know if you had touched on it today in today's meeting, but that was definitely something I was curious about to know where we are on that. That's definitely going to be a priority. You know, economic development right now is obviously at the forefront of all of our minds. I do recall that it came a bit low, but you did seem to show. You did seem to indicate that there were potentially, if we wanted to open it back up, the possibility of other people being interested. So I just kind of wanted to know where we are there, and just kind of know so that we know essentially which way we're going to be moving and so on.
Sure. I appreciate that, and I don't mean to keep deferring to Mr. Poor, but I will invite him to add on to this as well. But basically, as you said, and as I've been reporting, we do have one proposal that's been received on this. We've frankly been really focused, as you all know, on Grand Street. So we're coming to final terms with Foster Supply Hospitality. We're trying to get off our plate. I think Camp LaGuardia will certainly have to deal and dispense with it one way or another. But again, as I have been reporting, we've had a lot of interest from all of a sudden since the RFP's closed. I've probably given 5 or 6 tours to legitimate businesses that are interested in Camp LaGuardia since. So one of our options, of course, is to decide, the legislature decide you don't want to take the one that we received for basically $1.2 million, that bid, and you want to kind of scrap this RFP and either reissue it or find a way to deal with one of these people that we've been courting. We're still kind of in that holding pattern at the moment, but those are what our options.
Thank you for that, Bill. And because it just seems like if we're gonna be holding on to this project and in the end we don't choose it, we're just kind of dangling for no reason. So I just don't want to waste their time. Obviously, if they want to reapply, with the understanding that we have stricter policies or a stricter goal that we have in mind, and then that's what it is. But I mean, it just seems like, I don't know about my colleagues, but that number was very, very low. It wasn't. I mean, the project did seem ambitious and it seemed interesting. I'm not against it. The price tag, however, was just pretty outrageous to me personally. So I'm not a supporter of that. But I don't know where my colleagues stand. So it'd be great to know where we all want to, how we want to move forward with that. So if that's something that could be discussed here, that would be great. If Mr. Poor wants to give an update on what the county executive is thinking on that, that'd be great. And then finally, first of all, Bill, I just want to say, as always, you're always great with your presentation. If you could just touch a little bit also on where we are with the Grand Street properties. I didn't catch that part of it. Sure. I apologize for that. But just as a brief overview of where we're at, we did have a lot of things that we wanted to have done in the negotiation process. So want to see where we are. Thank you.
All right, I'll jump in with that, and if anyone wants to pick up the Camp LaGuardia discussion after that. But basically, with Grand Street, you of course approved 20 for us to deal just unilaterally with Foster Supply to come to final terms. Mr. Poor has been leading those negotiations. I've been dealing with Foster Supply a lot, but he's leading those negotiations, especially trying to eke out a few more dollars, trying to get not leave any money on the table when it comes to that. So he's had a number of those discussions. I think we're very close. And then it has to go to legal in order to draft up, a contract. And it does need your approval again to ratify that, so to speak. So we're close. I can tell you that Foster Supply has been working very, very hard. I give a lot of credit to DPW. I'm sorry I haven't done that on this call yet. They've been fantastic. They always get someone over there right on time to meet with vendors, GCs, architects, engineers. The city's been through there. We've had a lot of activity in those buildings now because Foster Supply has all vendors and potential vendors going through there, trying to get they're trying to get a solid figure on exactly what the construction budget would be, all the soft costs, et cetera, et cetera. They're also working on financing right now. You may recall it's a big nut. They've got about $21 million in the budget. They're putting in, I think it's close to $8 million on their own, and they've got to find the remainder through financing. So they're talking to banks right now. That's a big piece of this. So I expect it all to be coming together in the next 60 days.
I'm sorry I lost you guys for a while. If you have any questions, I'll be here to answer them for you.
Yes, Mr. Poor, I was just asking about Camp LaGuardia, and Bill just gave an overview of the Grand Street properties, which was a great overview. And we were just trying to get a feeling about what's going on with Camp LaGuardia. Last month, for instance, we did hear, what they were proposing. The dollar amount seemed a bit low. We have heard, that there is enthusiasm still out there for for potentially other investors potentially in the future if we decide not to move forward. So we just want to kind of get an idea of where the county executive is on this, so that we can also make a better determination of what we want to do as a legislature.
Okay, the offer came in at about $1.25 million. We have almost $8 or $9 million invested in that property right now. The offer was, I thought, soft. It was a mixture of agriculture and camping and a variety of different uses. We looked at it, and we haven't really moved on it. There's little interest on our part right now. We are open to further discussion with the proposer. It was the only response we got from the RFP. So we are talking to other individual companies right now, interest, but nothing firm, nothing appropriate for Camp LaGuardia at this point.
Would it then make sense for us to send it back to open it up then? I mean, again, this is obviously based on if my colleagues also want to do that, but I'm just saying, would that make sense to open it back up and ask them if they want to reapply, that they should keep in mind that they will be competing with other people, or are we not there yet?
Well, our door is always open for any serious offer. Number two, there's a thinking right now that with the pandemic, things might be a little bit slower than they would be otherwise. So with Legoland ready to open up, our feeling is that when Legoland opens, the value of Camp LaGuardia is going to go up.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, next up, I have Legislator O'Donnell. Go ahead.
Thanks. A couple of things come up since I queued in here. So the foreign trade zone, just to answer some of Legislator Tortel's concerns with the outside companies taking advantage of that. Was a quirk in the law when the FTZ zone in Orange County was created, which allows us to grant FTZ benefits anywhere we want in the state. All right. And the benefit of that, besides getting the $10,000, is creating goodwill between our county and whatever other county requested. A gap over in Dutchess, right? So the county exec's office, it's like a feather in his cap that he took care of another county. So there's a lot of goodwill that goes back and forth, getting the $10,000. And normally what happens when the county finds out that we're the FTZ operator of business in their county, they go running down to Washington to try to create their own FTZ so they don't have to deal with us. So that's happened already. So I'm sure it'll keep happening. But in the meantime, it's good for us and it's good for the state and it's good PR for the county exec's office on that end. Right. On Camp LaGuardia, I've had like 3 phone calls about turning that into a park, right? Certainly $1.2 million for that amount of acreage. If we ever had the opportunity to buy that much acreage for $1.2 million for a park, we jump on it, all right? The fact that we have $9-10 million invested in it, you know, the history of Camp LaGuardia was a homeless shelter for New York City. And it was a fact that many people would jump on a bus and hide out in Camp LaGuardia for months at a time with active warrants on them. And some of those same people would walk the trail down into Chester's shopping area, ShopRite, and Dunkin' Donuts, and intimidate the shoppers at ShopRite. And let me help you. So it was just a matter of time before we had a major criminal incident on the trail, right? That was one of the main reasons County Exec Diana went down to New York City and lobbied hard when we found out that New York City was going to close one of their 4 or 5 homeless shelters. Right? They were in a budget crisis, and that's what we did. We convinced them to close the one in Orange County. So that's how that happened. But like I said, I have a few people saying, hey, it's a great location for a county park, so that should be on the table also, especially if we're only getting $1.2 million And of course, it depends on what type of companies are interested, what the economic impact that those companies will have on the county. But without having a huge economic impact on a county, then we can always use more parkland, especially since this pandemic where everybody's been in their house for almost a year. But I'm sure it'll be a good discussion, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Chairman Brusher.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that I would vehemently be opposed to making that parkland. We've got enough parkland in the county of Orange, and we should maintain what we've got and spend more money on what we've got. That's prime land to be developed industrially or commercially or other venues to create tax revenue. I'm one of the few legislators here that voted for, that's still around, that voted for the purchase of that park, or that Camp LaGuardia property, and it was very controversial. And I was never looking, and Eddie Diana was never looking to make money on that property. But I certainly would not be in favor, and I will vehemently oppose any parkland being created there unless it's a minor piece of the property. I just want to put that out there now, because that's where I'm going to stand.
Okay, next up, I have Legislator Vero.
Thank you, Chairman. The one firm that was interested recently in the Camp LaGuardia property made a phone call to me, and it was followed up with more information, touting what they were going to be able to do for Chester and the county. Well, that follow-up phone call never came. They kind of, by the way, led me to believe they weren't really that serious in the first place. And funding was a big issue there too. I think they had great visions and no money to back it up. So I pretty much took them right off the plate. I'd rather see it not developed into a park. I echo Chairman Brush's sentiments there too. Anything, the people in Chester want to see that back on the tax rolls, not just an empty parcel there off the rolls. I think it's got great potential. And I think I agree with what I've heard earlier about things when they do get better, and they will get better. When Legoland does open, that property is going to be viewed a little bit differently. It's going to have more value. And I think once the wheels get into motion, with other projects in Orange County, it's going to be taking a hard look on that. Look, we sat on this thing from 2007 already. So we sit it on another year or two to get the right deal, the right people, the right project. Thank you.
Okay, Legislator Luan, I see your hand is still up. Is that from before, I'm assuming, or did you have something new?
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, that was from before. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next up, I have Majority Leader Benelli. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not to belabor the conversation, but I probably would be remiss if I didn't weigh in on Camp LaGuardia, since both Legislator Vero and I share that part of the districts. Our districts actually meet on the Camp LaGuardia property lines. And as Legislator O'Donnell said, I was supervisor back in the 90s when we were dealing with the homeless shelter. And the fact of all of those individuals coming up in under the cover of, at 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning and shipping them up there. And it wasn't only impacting the ShopRite Plaza and all the other things. It was also on Whitetail Run, which is the property and the residents at Blooming Grove that were dealing with these people wandering all over the place. Questionable characters that were talking to young children getting off school buses. And I will belabor all of the pretty ugly things that were potentially happening out there. And some of them were pretty ugly. So that's a long history there. And that brings us today. So I just wanted to echo the sentiments of Legislator. We did meet with that proposer for the 1.2. And to follow up with information, and I too have not heard from them. So I just wanted to weigh in on that, and I apologize for making your meeting run longer, Paul. But thank you.
Okay, anytime. Okay, Mr. Vero, your hand is still up. I'm assuming that's from before.
You assume correctly. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing any other questions. So anyone else? Last call for questions for Bill? Nope. Okay, seeing none, Bill, thank you, and see you next month.
Thanks, sir.
All right. All right, that does it for our formal agenda here. I know Mr. O'Donnell did want to discuss the IDA. You mentioned the letter response. I just want to say I have not received that letter yet. I talked to Chairman Brush earlier. He mentioned it. I looked through my email. I haven't seen it. I talked to Mr. Gatos. He mentioned it as well. So I don't know if it was emailed to me or if it was sent through the mail. If it went through the mail, mail's been terrible lately, so I haven't seen it. So if whoever has it could forward it to me, I appreciate it.
I just
I
asked
can-
the lady from the office
I
to
can-
forward it to you.
Okay, thank you. And so with that, Jim, I'll turn it over to you. I know you got some comments.
Thank you, Chairman. I could just read one of it. I can't pull up the other one because I got it just calling the office. They emailed it to me. So anyway, here's one that came in to UN Langdon at 11:41. Legislator Riskevich, please find attached our letter in response to a letter sent to our client, the Orange County IDA. Additionally, I have also attached all of the IDA and OCFC audited financial statements from 2016 to the most current. The IDA and the OCFC are audited annually by a certified independent auditing firm. While our client reserves any and all rights they have under law to contest the legal authority of the county legislator's perceived audit authority over the Orange County IDA or OCFC, we look forward to working with the legislature on this matter. Thank you, Alex. So that's Alexander L. Betke, Esquire, 76 North Pearl, Suite 3, Albany, New York, 12207. So first, I'm disappointed that the IDA is not here before today. Even Mike Gatos to quote, communicate more often. All right. So I've been already to and made it a motion to have the IDA to appear here monthly. Both times it was voted down. I hope at the end of my comments, when I make another to have the IDA appear here monthly, it's voted in the affirmative today. But in the meantime, to have them go to Albany, dispense public funds to hire a firm when all we're doing is asking for public documents to do our job of oversight. All right. So just a small civic lesson. The chairman of the legislature appoints the legislative board. We vote like we did on Mike Gatos' nomination today. So in essence, we are the boss of the board of the IDA. The IDA board hires everyone at the IDA and the OCFC. In essence, the board of directors of the IDA is the boss of everybody that works there. Some people don't go along with that concept. They're the boss. All they have to do is tell the members of people that are working at the IDA to submit those documents. What happened in this case? They ran money and spent public funds, again, wasting public money, hiring lawyers. You remember last year they showed up at one of our committee meetings with what they claimed was a lobbyist, but in fact he was an attorney up in Albany. When they submitted last month to us that 24-page document, that PowerPoint, on page 12 or 13 was the pie chart. That pie chart represented $2 million in expenses for 2020. Already spent 2020, right? At the top of the chart on the left was GTG, Galileo Technology Group, right? Run by Mr. Casalino, who's a contract employee at the IDA. Why he's a contract employee and not a regular employee of the IDA is pretty clear. So he can collect more money. through his company, all right? If he was a member of the IDA team and working directly for the IDA, I'm assuming he would be making less than $7,000 that the head of the IDA makes, because he'd be working for her. The next thing on that pie chart might have been utilities, 236,000, rent, 600,000. Then it goes down to accelerated without walls, 500,000. Below that is other consulting, 236 grand could be. But in essence, other than the rent, 600,000 that we pay, which is a total new discussion, 235 in utilities. The rest, you subtract that, there's $1,119,000 going through what I assume is GTG. All right. So the 4 highest paid people in this county with public funds is the district attorney, who by law, his salary is mandated up in Albany. The county exec, then we have Lori over in the IDA, which I said 157, and Mr. Casalino, who has $1,119,000 going through his company. And we still don't get him to come to us monthly. We still send them a letter from the chairman of the Economic Development Committee, and this is the answer we get. We all know, and we're all briefed by Antoinette, that we have the legal authority. We are the oversight of the IDA, yet they still continue to question our legal, all right? So I'm gonna call for us, forget this audit. They made it clear in their response to us, we are not gonna get the information we need. So we talked about an investigative committee with subpoena power, and that's our step, all right? So I'm calling today to have the chairman with the leadership put together an investigative committee to bring the idea and subpoena the records they are refusing to give us. And that's what they're doing. The documents they attached to that letter to you, Chairman Wiskevitz, was insulting to not only every legislator here, it was insulting to our citizens, all right? Every taxpayer, it was insulting to. They attached audits that are on their website. We did not get anything in that letter other than the quote, perceived insinuation that we don't have this authority, all right? The only documents they sent back to us, Chairman, was on their website. And in the letter, and I can't pull it up, the other letter, they take a little touch at us saying, this is in response to your undated letter, okay? Like, you're gonna start throwing shots at elected officials just because there wasn't a date attached to a letter requesting information when this is a hot topic, all right? That's where your mindset is, that you take shots at elected officials. Listen, this is an insult to every taxpayer in this county, right? We need an investigative committee with subpoena power, all right? We got a pledge from Mike Gatos to get us everything, but then he threw in legally. Well, we'll have legislative council, be quick, have a call Antoinette. We'll give her copies of the documents that Antoinette gave us, citing the legal authority that we have over the IDA. All right. And I've had a discussion with Chairman Brescher on this too. He's the boss over there, right? Yes, you are. You can shake your head no that you're not the boss. If you don't believe you're the boss over there, you shouldn't be on the board. The board members hire Lori. I'm not wrong on this. The board members hire Lori and they approve the contract with GTG. Why else would you be on a board if you don't think you hire somebody and you're the first line supervisor? We're the second line supervisor over people that work at the IDA. That's our legal authority to have them come appear before us, all right? And again, I can't believe they're not here this month, all right? So I'll entertain any questions, any debates on whether I say was truthful, not truthful. You believe me, you don't believe me. But one thing's for certain, the money is missing. And we don't know how it was spent, all right? They submitted a 2021 budget this year, right, to us at committee, where they said they were going to lose over $500,000. If you took a closer look at that budget, which I'm assuming the IDA board voted, all right? If you look closely at that budget, it included $2 million in revenue from being paid back a $2 million interest-free loan. Now, I'm not an accountant, but that's not revenue that they bring in. That's a loan, all right? So in essence, without that loan repayment, they submitted a budget that loses over $2.5 million this year. So every day they drag on in keeping this going, right? They wait till the very last day, Chairman Wiskevich, the 22nd, to respond to you. We sent that letter more than a month ago, all right? It's just a disgrace. It's just a disgrace. And it's gone on long enough. I'm calling on the leadership to create a special investigative committee where we'll have subpoena power, and then we will get the documents we're asking for. Hey, all we're asking for it. Where did you spend the money? Show us your checkbook. I can't think of one reason why they couldn't send us every check that was sent to GTG, other contractors, all right? Maybe there might be some check that went to settle a lawsuit, okay? So they could say, here's every check with the exception of A, B, and C, which was done to settle a lawsuit which you're not entitled to. To say we're not entitled to every check that was sent to GTG, $1,119,000 from just the accelerator. I'm not even talking, I haven't even seen IDA pie chart, what they spent there. But like Mike Gato said, we need to communicate more. I called on them to come in monthly twice since I've been on the legislature. I did it the very first committee meeting. Who spoke out against it? You know who you are, all right? They need to be here. We need a special investigative committee with subpoena power. Otherwise, we're gonna have these letters from the lawyers, you're not entitled to. That letter we got today, Chairman, was a disgrace, and it attached 7 or 8 documents that are available on their website. It's just insulting, like I said, not to all of us on the legislature or the chairman of the committee or the chairman of the legislature. No, it's insulting to every citizen, every taxpayer of Orange County. Thank you.
Okay, I see Chairman Brescher. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have to respectfully disagree with legislator. The IDA also sent a letter that said, let's get together. So the entire facts are not being presented here right now. The letter also said we would sit down. So I wish that portion of the letter would be written, would be stated here today. We have no need for a special investigation committee. The IDA engaged a private auditor to look at our financials and look at our procedures. And that auditor is scheduled to come to the next E&E committee meeting. I already scheduled that with the Chairman Riskevich. I mean, it doesn't just happen overnight when you engage, an outside auditor. look at your books and you don't just get it done within a few days, Jim. I'm sorry, it doesn't happen that way. And I am one of 7 bosses of the accelerator and the employees at the Orange County IDA and accelerator. I'm one of 7 bosses. I'm not their boss, singular. So let's get that squared.
Oh, I didn't mean you were the singular boss. I said the IDA board
Okay.
is the boss.
You're right.
That's
Okay,
what I said.
all right.
I
Okay.
did not
well,
say you.
Then I misunderstood. Okay, let's not debate on that because we'll be going on forever here. So let me just say a few words, and I'm not going to be as long as you, but I'm going to say a few things. There's no county taxation. We talk about county taxpayers' money. There's no county taxation paid at the Orange County IDA. So let's get that straight. A lot of the stuff, the money that comes through the IDA is money that comes through fees and other revenue sources. All right, and there are pilots, of course, so you can argue that it's county taxpayer money. There's pilots that are given that otherwise would be county property tax money. But if not for those pilots, we wouldn't be getting a tenth of what we were getting from the development of those projects that are IDA projects. All right, but we sit here, we're talking about the accelerator and Vinny's expenses with Galileo. Vinny makes about $125 an hour. So first off, next month in February, they're going to come, the auditor is going to come and explain about the audit that he did. And I think you're going to be pleased with the results, but that will come next month. The subsequent month, they can come in and speak if Chairman Bruskevich entertains it, and I hope he would. You know, the expenses of the accelerator, the pie chart that you talked about, Jim, that you showed the Republican caucus the other night, and they're plain as day. The expenditures of the IDA and the accelerator and the funding corp are on vouchers that are out, we vote on every month. I mean, the IDA votes on these expenses. I mean, you're acting like we're spending willy-nilly, wasting money. I mean, you're going to find that, you know, much of this money, I mean, Paul Berry and John Vero see it just in the Warwick, the old Mid-Orange Correctional Facility alone. I mean, Kevin Darian Lujan and Jim Kulisek toured a couple of businesses down in the city of Newburgh. 5 of us went and looked at the Zeal property, and we could sit there and talk about, you know, the vendors that are used. Hopefully, they're all local, I would think, to do some of the construction. That can be at the March meeting. Let's get to the audit first, hear what they have to say about the audit that the IDA has done, the independent audit in February. Then let's go on to March and do the accelerator report. And then if you still have further questions, then we can dig deep. But to go for a special investigative committee, to me, is insulting. Because, you know, of course they had to engage an outside auditing firm because, you know, originally we were asking for a forensic audit, which refers criminality. So I just say, let the process follow its way. And, you know, you're going to find, I tell you, we can get you a lot of testimonials from IDA clients, AWOW, which you think is a waste of money, Jim. You know,
Hold it. Did I say that?
Wait a minute, no, let me.
Did I say that?
Let me finish, Jim. Let me finish. I gave you that respect. Let me finish, Jim. Jim, don't cut me off. God.
Wait a minute. Chairman Russia has the floor. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
When you don't like to be interrupted when you're talking, so let me finish. All right. I'll tell you, I've seen firsthand. I've called Vinny many times with clients. I called him last week with a hairdresser in Walden, which isn't even my district, and he used our lobbyists and help get expedite approvals for her. So there's a lot of that going on that you don't hear about. So I respect your opinion, Jim, but you ought to look at some of the other facts. So let the auditor come in from the IDA, give those facts, and then let's go on to the accelerator report in March. And then if you're not happy, let's dig deeper. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Steve. I just want to say, Jimmy, I know you mentioned several times you brought up the idea of having them at E&E monthly. We voted on it twice, went down both times. I was the ones that spoke out against it. I'll do it again. We do have our economic development director, Bill Ferravanti, reports to us monthly. He works with the IDA and all the other agencies in the county. However, I will say with everything going on right now, I am certainly more than willing to bring them in monthly until we work through a lot of these issues. I talked to Chairman Brush earlier today about having them next month with their auditor to give a report, and then we want to do the accelerator following month, and we'll keep going until we get these questions answered. But I agree with the chairman. I think it's premature to have an investigative committee at this point. If we're not getting the answers we want, then we can pursue that then. But for now, I think we can start bringing them in monthly and get these questions answered. So I'm sure you'd like to respond to that. So if you want to, go ahead.
All right, so first let's correct something about me saying that the accelerator without walls was a waste of money. If you play back any tape, those words never came out of my mouth. As far as taxation, right, I said public funding, all right? And me and Chairman Brescia have had this conversation. So he explained it after he said it's no taxation there. He also, and I will put words in his mouth because you can play back the tape, that it is fee money that comes in lieu of taxation. And he states, probably correctly, that we wouldn't have these companies without that. That's correct, but some companies still came without it. And most recently, that was Medline, all right? Medline is paying those taxes, all right? So those taxes that Medline is paying are coming directly to the county, to the town, and to the state, all right? If Medline took the pilot, they would have paid a fee to the IDA, rather decent amount. That's how they get their fees. So their fees are directly related in some way to taxation. Agreed that it's not county taxation per se that we talk about within our own budget, but it is tied to tax money from the schools, the county, and the state, all right? So it is public funding, all right? That's a fact. It's public funding. And I would just hope that you would have fought as vehemently defending the IDA today that you would have fought defending the legislature, all right? That's just disappointing to me, that you have defended the IDA much more vigorously than you've defended our authority just to get information, just to look at a checkbook. All right, that's all, just to look at a checkbook. All right, we're not asking for a lot. And you brought up forensic, and we took that word out as soon as someone said it was criminal. So that never even came to the public light. We took it out immediately, okay? I could care less what kind of audit. I just want to see the checkbook. I want to see where the money's going. I want to see they didn't put anything out to bid. They spent 600 grand, I think, in the Newburgh accelerator, all right? When they built that town accelerator, do you know where they got that money? No.
Tell me.
A grant. A grant. No IDA money was spent at Middletown. They got it from a grant, all right? Yet, I'm told 600,000 went into the accelerator in Newburgh, all right? And I'm told I wasn't invited to that tour last week, all right? But I'm told that Mr. Casalino made a point of telling everyone that for every dollar the IDA spent there, the owner of the building spent an equal dollar, all right? I would like to see those documents that he or she or whoever owns that building actually spent dollar for dollar that are public funds. That's what we're in the business of as legislators, looking out for the county and the taxpayers' money. This is not personal, not with you, Steve, not with me, not with Mr. Casalino. I hired Lori, encouraged her to get every type of document and every certification in economic development, okay? I'm glad she's where she is in her life, having a background in economic development, all right? I want to see the money. That's all. And I would appreciate you being as vigorous, having them open their checkbook so all of us legislators can do our job. That's what this is. We just want the ability to do our job, not have lawyers telling us we don't have the legal authority to do this. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And that's the only reason I'm calling for an investigative committee. to have subpoena power, all right? Hey, there's a lot there. I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg, all right? I've explained this over and over and over again. We are responsible to the taxpayers of this county, and they have a right, just as all of us on the board have a right to see where the money is, not to be stonewalled, right, by some attorney up in Albany that they ran up to see, all right? And Chairman Wiskevich, wait till you see the letter. Wait till you see what they attached to it. Holy mackerel. They attached 8 different years of audits, actually 4 different years of audits of the Funding Corporation and the IDA. It's insulting, all right? So you can't keep stretching this out, because every month you're stretching it out. Divide 1.119 million into 12 months. So it's a little less than 100 grand a month that we have no idea what's going on with that money. No idea, all right? And for the past 5 years, they've come in, I count up the minutes by the time we have another meeting. But I'm pretty sure in my first year here, they were supposed to come in quarterly. They only came in 3 times. Every other year they came in, I'm pretty sure 4. But I'm going to have how many minutes they actually been before us and show you that we have failed as a legislature in our oversight committee of the IDA. So we're as much the fault as the IDA board has failed in their oversight of us having $8 million disappear. And hey, come tell me, it could be good, could be. We don't know. We don't know. So thank you.
Okay, I got Chairman Brushett and Legislator Cheney and then Majority Leader Benelli. So go ahead, Steve.
I think Barry was ahead of me, but I'm not going to say too much. I mean, Carrie Ann just texted me to breathe and take a sip of water. I could see myself getting red in the thing. And I apologize for saying a swear word there. That was unbecoming. And Jim, you know, I respect you. You were a very good friend of my father, and you come from the same kind of mold. But I just have to say that, you know, we don't need a special investigative committee. We really don't. I mean, you know, I saw one of those for the government center, and you were involved with that. You know full well from the other end of that, and Valley View as well. And we resolved nothing, and it cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I think we should take the calm course and do what I suggested. You know, Jim brings up some good points, but I do defend actions of the IDA just like I defend actions of this legislature. And Jim, you should remember very well, when you were director of the IDA, I pulled a lot of shots, did a lot of good things there, that I defended you many times in the IDA. It's no different today than it was when you were there. So I know you have questions. You know, I talk to Vinny more than I talk to Lori because I'm out dealing with people in business and I meet a lot of business people. And whenever I've called Vinny, he's answered the call. And he's done, I tell you, I can give you many testimonials of what he's done. You know, $125 an hour is a good price. It's a very fair price what he charges us. But let the auditor for the IDA engaged come in and speak to us in February, tell us what he's found first, and then let's get an accelerator. I don't think the IDA or accelerator should come in every month, but you know that's up to the E&E committee to ask for that, and it's up for them to respond accordingly. But you know, I think the communication needs to be better. We have to have more joint meetings. We talked about that with the county exec as well. I think we need to just take a calm approach and approach it in that vein. And also, you know, Eddie and Diane and I were on a conversation with him. You know, if the legislature asks for the IDA to ratchet back some of these expenses, they will certainly consider that. Definitely consider it. But I think, you know, many of these initiatives, especially the $2 million that's going to be coming back to the IDA, the loan to Warwick for the marijuana complex that they're going to do down there, 200,000 to 100,000 in the other 100,000 facility. Mike Slayton did a phenomenal job there. And those initiatives, I mean, Zeal and Newburgh, county exec was there, 5 legislators, everybody was very impressed. You know, I took the tour of Orange Packaging. you know, Vinny and through Alex Becky in Albany too. I mean, they get us a lot of aid, a lot of grants. See, that grant, the accelerator in Middletown, there might be a grant there, but the IDA has spent quite a bit of money there as well, whether you know it or not, Jim. And Middletown didn't come through with their commitment they initially made. They said that legally they couldn't do it. They didn't come. They came through with zilch. The city of Newburgh IDA did not come through with any help at ZLI. So we've been doing this without assistance from other IDAs. So I just want to point that out, and I ask you respectfully, once again, I apologize for respectfully to follow that process, February, March, and then go deeper if you think you need to go deeper. Thank you.
Well, you just mentioned my name again, so Chairman Wiskevich, could I respond?
That doesn't mean you can respond to everything. You don't always have to have the last word.
Well, you keep throwing shots at me. I'm gonna tell you.
What shot? Come on.
You said you defended me at the IDA. What are you talking about? I didn't.
Whenever we were questions, we took a lot of hits. in the
Mr.
press.
Chairman,
You just said you defended me. What are you talking about?
All right, wait a minute. We've got other legislators here want to speak, so.
I get it, Chairman.
For all of us,
Wiskevich,
actually, the viewers and
but
mine.
he directly said, I'm doing something wrong. I was doing something wrong. That he had to defend me at the IDA. That's
Just the
your
shots from
word.
the record, the Times Herald record, all the times we were attacked, and you know there were many of them. Not just you directly, I'm talking about you, me, and the whole IDA.
Well,
Okay?
you said me.
Okay.
You didn't say all
Just
of
like-
us.
Just
You
like
didn't
you said, I'm
say
the
all of
boss.
us.
Okay. All
All
right.
right?
You and me and others, okay?
All right,
That's
That's a lot different.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
all right. Now I'm going to go to Majority Leader Benelli. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This conversation, first of all, is very, it's excluding everybody else on this call except for Legislator O'Donnell and Chairman Brescia, and maybe even Paul Riskevich, but the chairman of this committee. But I don't even think the chairman of the committee has even seen this letter. So to go back and forth and for either to defend or criticize the IDA based upon, yes, there was an action, but none of us are looking at this letter. And I don't think it's the job of any one legislator to be defending the IDA or criticizing them, until which point we have the facts. They are not on this call. And the fact to defer to Mr. Fioranti to be their advocate, that is not his job either. The conversation is now becoming heated, it's becoming personal, and there's nothing to be gained by that. Some very good points have been brought by Mr. O'Donnell as well as Chairman Brescia. But until we have all of the components and all the information together, we're just going to keep going back and forth without any goal, without any achievement at the end of this. I would suggest that when the letter, you all have the opportunity to read the letter, you either put it on the agenda for E&E or call a special meeting just to discuss IDA issues. But to continue in this vein, all we're doing is we're getting people exasperated, and the rest of us are just sitting there looking at this. So I would say that we try to bring this to conclusion as very quickly as possible. And I'm not saying it's not a valid discussion. It is a very valid discussion, but I think it warrants its own separate meeting, to be honest with you. Whether we have an investigative committee, that remains to be seen, but that's a discussion we should have. And this was not even on the agenda today. So there may be other legislators that would have tuned into this meeting if they thought that there was going to be a discussion. So under those circumstances, I think we wind this down and move on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your time.
Thank you. I do agree. I know this has gotten off track, and you're absolutely right. Without me and others seeing that letter, I don't see any point in continuing this conversation. I am, like I said, committed to bringing this back, bring the IDA back next month. In the meantime, Chairman Brush, I suggest that we have a meeting with a couple members of the IDA and a few legislators beforehand. Discuss some of these issues. In the meantime, I certainly want to review those letters as well. So with that, I know Legislator Cheney did have his hand up, but I see he took it down. So with that, I'd like to conclude this meeting. All right, look for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay, Benton, is there a second?
Cheney.
Tortel.
Second.
All right, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Kelly, you still on?